I still remember the day my sister Victoria kicked me out of Thompson Industries like it was yesterday. The company my parents built from nothing, the place where I'd spent every summer since I was 12, learning every department from the ground floor up. Dad always said the business would belong to both of us someday. But that was before the accident that took them both away. That was before Victoria showed her true colors. I was 25 when it happened. Victoria was 28 and had just been named temporary CEO while the board figured out the succession plan. I thought we'd run it together, just like Mom and Dad wanted. I was so wrong. The morning she called me into the executive boardroom, I actually smiled. I thought she wanted to discuss our future plans. "Marcus, we need to talk," she said, not even looking up from her papers. I sat down across from her, noticing how she'd already moved into Dad's chair. It felt wrong somehow. "The board and I have made a decision," Victoria continued, her voice cold and businesslike. "We're restructuring the company, and your position is being eliminated." I laughed. I actually laughed because it sounded so ridiculous. "What are you talking about? I'm the VP of Operations. Half our contracts run through my department." She finally looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. It wasn't anger or sadness. It was satisfaction. "Those contracts will be reassigned. We're bringing in someone with more experience, someone who actually has an MBA." That stung. I'd skipped graduate school to work full-time at the company after college. Dad said real-world experience mattered more than fancy degrees. "Victoria, this is our family's company. Mom and Dad wanted us both." "Mom and Dad are gone," she interrupted sharply. "I'm CEO now, and I'm making the decisions that are best for Thompson Industries. This isn't personal, Marcus." But it was. We both knew it was. I spent the next week cleaning out my office, 10 years of work packed into cardboard boxes. My assistant, Michelle, cried when she helped me. "This isn't right," she whispered. "Everyone knows you're the heart of this company." But Victoria had made her move carefully. She'd gotten the board on her side by promising aggressive expansion. She'd convinced them I was too cautious, too stuck in the old ways. Never mind that my caution had saved us from 3 bad deals in the past year alone. On my last day, I walked through the building one final time. The manufacturing floor where I'd learned to operate every machine. The design studio where I'd spent countless hours with our team. The break room where Dad and I used to have coffee every morning at 6. Victoria didn't even say goodbye. She was in a meeting when I left, probably on purpose. I handed my badge to security and walked out into the parking lot, feeling like I'd lost my family twice. The first few months were dark. I'd wake up at 5:30 out of habit, then remember I had nowhere to go. My apartment felt like a prison. I'd spent so much of my life at Thompson Industries that I barely knew who I was without it. But slowly, something changed. The anger turned into fuel. I started making calls, reaching out to old contacts, people I'd worked with over the years. I learned that Victoria's aggressive expansion wasn't going well. She was making moves too fast, spending money on projects that hadn't been properly vetted. I also learned something interesting. 3 of our biggest clients were unhappy. They'd been my accounts, and Victoria had reassigned them to her new VP of Operations, a guy named Bradley Chen, who'd never worked in our industry before. He was making mistakes, missing deadlines, and the clients were noticing. I saw an opportunity. A small one, but it was there. I used my severance package and every dollar I'd saved to start my own company. I called it Apex Solutions. It was just me, a tiny office, and a dream of proving Victoria wrong. I knew the industry inside and out. I knew what clients needed before they asked for it. That was my advantage. My first break came from an unexpected place. Gerald Hoffman, the CEO of Hoffman Manufacturing, one of Thompson Industries' biggest clients, called me out of the blue. "Marcus, I heard you left the family business. I wanted to reach out because we're having some issues with our current service provider." I knew he meant Thompson Industries, but he was being diplomatic. "I'd be happy to discuss how I might help, Mr. Hoffman." We met for lunch the next day. He was frustrated, explaining how deadlines were being missed and communication had broken down. "When you were handling our account, everything ran like clockwork. Now it's chaos." "I'm starting something new," I told him. "Smaller, more focused. I can give you the personal attention you're not getting anymore. Hoffman Manufacturing became my first client. It wasn't their entire account, just a small project to start. But I poured everything into it. I worked 18-hour days, handled every detail myself, and delivered results 2 weeks early. Gerald was impressed. "This is the Thompson Industries I remember," he said when I presented the final report. "You've got something special here, Marcus. Don't lose it as you grow." I promised him I wouldn't. And slowly, carefully, I started building Apex Solutions into something real. I hired 2 people, then 5, then 10. Every person I brought on board was someone who shared my vision of quality over quantity, relationships over transactions. Meanwhile, I heard through industry contacts that Victoria was struggling. Her expensive expansion had hit roadblocks. 2 major projects had failed, costing the company millions. The board was asking questions, but she was too proud to change course, too convinced she was right. I didn't celebrate her failures. Part of me still remembered the sister who'd taught me to ride a bike. 2 years after Victoria kicked me out, Apex Solutions had grown to 50 employees and $15 million in annual revenue. We were small compared to Thompson Industries' $100 million operation, but we were profitable and growing steadily. More importantly, we had a reputation for excellence. I'd learned to be a real CEO, not just someone who understood operations, but someone who could see the whole picture. I took online business courses at night. I read every book I could find on leadership and strategy. I surrounded myself with people smarter than me and actually listened to their advice. The industry started noticing. I was invited to speak at conferences. Trade magazines wrote articles about how Apex Solutions was disrupting traditional models. I wasn't trying to be the biggest anymore. I was trying to be the best. And then I got the call that changed everything. Gerald Hoffman wanted to meet for lunch again. "Marcus, I need to tell you something important," he said over the phone. "But not here. Let's talk in person." Gerald looked serious when I sat down across from him at the restaurant. "Marcus, Hoffman Manufacturing is putting our entire account up for bid. We're talking about a $40 million contract over 5 years." My heart started racing. That was almost 3 times my current annual revenue. That's huge, Gerald. Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want Apex Solutions to bid on it," he said. "You've earned it. The work you've done for us has been exceptional. But I need to be straight with you. Thompson Industries is also bidding. They've had our main account for 15 years. The board is going to take some convincing to switch." I sat back, my mind spinning. This was it. The chance to compete directly with Victoria. The chance to prove that her decision to force me out was the biggest mistake she'd ever made. "I'll put together a proposal," I told Gerald. "When do you need it?" 3 weeks. And Marcus? Make it good. You're the underdog here." I gathered my team the next morning. "This is our shot," I told them. "This contract could change everything for us, but we're competing against a company 10 times our size with an established relationship. We need to show them why smaller is better, why personal attention matters, why Apex Solutions is the future." We worked around the clock for the next 3 weeks. Every number was checked 3 times. Every strategy was debated and refined. We built a proposal that wasn't just about what we do, but how we do it differently, better, smarter than Thompson Industries. I found out later that Victoria didn't even work on the proposal herself. She had Bradley put it together with minimal oversight. She was too busy dealing with another failed expansion project to focus on what should have been her top priority. She took the Hoffman account for granted, assuming 15 years of history would trump everything else. That was her second biggest mistake. The first was kicking me out. The presentation day arrived. Thompson Industries went first. I sat in the waiting room with my team, trying to stay calm. Through the glass doors, I could see Victoria and Bradley setting up their presentation. She looked confident, barely glancing at her notes. After an hour, they came out. Victoria saw me and stopped. For a moment, we just stared at each other. I could see her brain working, realizing why I was there. "Marcus," she said, her voice neutral. "I heard you started a little consulting firm." "Apex Solutions," I replied. "We're doing well." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Good luck in there. You'll need it." Then she walked past me without another word. My team looked at me nervously. Was that your sister? My CFO, Amanda, whispered. Used to be, I said. Our presentation was everything we'd worked for. I started by acknowledging the elephant in the room. I know Thompson Industries has history with you. I helped build that relationship when I worked there. But today I'm asking you to focus on the future, not the past. We showed them our plans, our pricing, our timeline. Everything was detailed and realistic. We weren't promising miracles. We were promising consistent, excellent work, backed by a team that treated every client like they were our only client. The board asked tough questions. I answered every single one honestly. When I didn't know something, I admitted it and explained how I'd find the answer. No corporate speaks, no dodging. Just straight talk. Why should we take a risk on a smaller company? One board member asked. Because we're hungry, I replied. Thompson Industries has grown comfortable. They know you'll probably stay with them. We know we have to earn your business every single day. That difference matters. The waiting period was torture. 2 weeks with no word from Hoffman Manufacturing. I tried to focus on other work, but that proposal consumed my thoughts. Everything I'd built was leading to this moment. Meanwhile, I heard through the grapevine that Victoria was furious I'd even been allowed to bid. She'd called Gerald personally, reminding him of Thompson Industries' long relationship with his company. According to my source, Gerald had politely but firmly told her that all qualified bidders deserved consideration. That must have stung. Victoria wasn't used to being told no. On a Friday afternoon, Gerald finally called. Marcus, can you come to my office Monday morning at 9? The board has made their decision. Can you tell me now? I asked, my stomach in knots. Monday, Marcus. This kind of news deserves to be delivered in person. I barely slept all weekend. Monday morning, I arrived at Hoffman Manufacturing at 8:30. I wore my best suit, the one I'd bought for Dad's funeral. Gerald's assistant led me to the boardroom where the full board was assembled. This was unusual. They didn't bring the losing bidder in front of the whole board. Hope surged in my chest. Gerald stood up and shook my hand. Marcus, thank you for your patience. The board and I have carefully reviewed both proposals. He paused, and I held my breath. We'd like to award the full contract to Apex Solutions. For a second, I couldn't speak. My team, watching via video call, erupted in cheers. I could hear them through my phone in my pocket. We were impressed by your thoroughness, your honesty, and your vision, another board member added. Thompson Industries gave us a solid proposal, but yours showed us what's possible when a company is truly invested in our success. I shook hands with each board member, trying to keep my emotions in check. This was professional, but inside I was flying. The news hit the industry fast. By that afternoon, trade publications were running stories. Apex Solutions wins major contract from Thompson Industries. Some articles noted I was Victoria Thompson's brother, making it a family rivalry story. I hated that angle, but I couldn't control the narrative. I was in a planning meeting with my team when my phone rang. Victoria. I hadn't heard from her in 2 years, and now her name was flashing on my screen. I let it go to voicemail. Whatever she wanted to say, I wasn't ready to hear it. She called again 10 minutes later. Then again. Finally she texted, Marcus, we need to talk. This is important. Please call me back. I showed the text to Amanda. Should I respond? That's your call, she said carefully. But remember why you're here. Don't let her pull you back into her drama. I put my phone away and focused on the meeting. We had a $40 million contract to execute, and I wasn't going to let Victoria distract me. Victoria called 7 more times that day. She left voicemails, each one increasingly desperate. Marcus, please. I know you're angry, but we need to discuss this situation. The board is asking questions. I need to explain what happened. What happened was simple. She'd gotten lazy and complacent, and I'd outworked her. But I wasn't cruel enough to say that in a voicemail. That evening, she showed up at my office. My receptionist called back, sounding nervous. Mr. Thompson, your sister is here. She says she's not leaving until you talk to her. I sighed. This conversation was inevitable. Send her back. Victoria looked different than I remembered. Older, more tired. The confidence she'd worn like armor 2 years ago was gone. She sat down across from my desk without being invited. You did this on purpose, she said. Not angry, just stating what she believed was a fact. I bid on a contract, I replied calmly. Same as you. I won because my proposal was better. You won because Gerald Hoffman has some misplaced loyalty to you. Victoria shot back. He's punishing Thompson Industries for a personnel decision that was necessary for the company's growth. Is that what you tell yourself? I couldn't help the edge in my voice. That firing me was necessary? That forcing me out of the company Dad built was some kind of strategic move? It was, she insisted. You didn't have the vision to take Thompson Industries to the next level. You were holding us back with your caution and your obsession with doing everything the old way. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. How's that new direction working out? I heard the Hartford expansion fell through, and the Phoenix project lost $6 million. And now you've lost Hoffman Manufacturing. Should I go on? Her face flushed red. Those were learning experiences, growing pains. You can't build an empire without taking risks. There's a difference between taking risks and being reckless, I said. Victoria stood up, pacing my office. Look, I didn't come here to fight. I came to ask you for help. The words seemed to physically pain her. Help with what? The board is questioning my leadership. Losing Hoffman is going to look really bad in this quarter's report. If you could just delay the contract start. Give us time to find a replacement client. Just a few months. I stared at her, genuinely shocked. You want me to delay a $40 million contract, hurting my own company and disappointing my client, to make you look better to your board? It's not just my board. It's Dad's company, Marcus. Our family's legacy. Don't you care about that anymore? That made me angry in a way her previous words hadn't. I cared about it so much that I gave up graduate school to work there full-time. I cared about it enough to master every department, and you kicked me out because you saw me as competition, not as family. That's not true, Victoria protested, but her voice was weak. It is true. You wanted to be the only Thompson at Thompson Industries. You wanted all the glory, all the credit. Well, you got it. Now you get to deal with all the consequences too. She sat back down, and for the first time, I saw her face crumble. Marcus, please. I made mistakes. I know that now. But if I lose my position as CEO, everything Mom and Dad built will fall into someone else's hands. Is that what you want? What I want is to run my company and take care of my clients, I said, softer now. I'm sorry you're struggling. I really am. But I'm not going to sabotage Apex Solutions to save you from your own decisions. Victoria wiped her eyes quickly, rebuilding her walls. Fine. I should have known you'd be petty about this. Petty? The anger flared again. You're asking me to hurt my business, and I'm petty for saying no? You really haven't changed at all. She left without another word. The execution of the Hoffman contract went flawlessly. My team rose to the challenge, delivering exactly what we'd promised. Gerald was thrilled, telling me at our monthly check-in that switching to Apex Solutions was the best decision his board had made all year. Meanwhile, Thompson Industries continued to struggle. Victoria had to lay off 30 employees to cut costs. Industry analysts started speculating about possible acquisition targets, companies that might swallow up Thompson Industries before it failed completely. I tried not to pay attention to the news, but it was impossible. Every article felt like it was about my family's legacy crumbling. Despite everything Victoria had done, I found myself feeling guilty. What would Mom and Dad think if they could see what had happened to their company? Amanda noticed my mood during a Monday morning meeting. You're thinking about Thompson Industries again, she said after everyone else had left. Am I that obvious? To someone who knows you, yes. What are you going to do about it? What can I do? Victoria made her choices. She wouldn't listen to me 2 years ago, and she won't listen now. Amanda leaned back in her chair. Maybe. But you're not the same person you were 2 years ago. You've built something real here. You have leverage now. If you wanted to help Thompson Industries, you could probably do it. The question is, do you want to? I thought about that for days. Did I want to help the company that had kicked me out? Did I want to help the sister who'd betrayed me? Or was the mature thing to let go of the past and focus on my own future? The answer came from an unexpected place. I was having dinner with Gerald Hoffman when he brought up Thompson Industries. I heard they're in trouble. I feel partly responsible, taking our business away. They earned that loss, I said. Bad service, missed deadlines. You made the right choice. Maybe. But I've been thinking, what if you bought them? I almost choked on my water. Buy Thompson Industries? Gerald, they're still $100 million company. Even struggling, I couldn't afford that. Not the whole company. But what if they sold off pieces, kept the profitable core, and shed the failing expansion projects? You could acquire the parts that make sense, merge them with Apex Solutions, create something even bigger and better. The idea was crazy, but it was also brilliant. Thompson Industries was failing because Victoria had spread it too thin. But the core business, the parts I'd helped build, were still strong. If I could acquire those pieces and integrate them with Apex Solutions' more focused approach. That would require Victoria agreeing to sell, I pointed out. She might not have a choice soon. I heard the board is considering putting the company up for sale if next quarter doesn't improve. Better to sell to someone who understands the legacy than to let a corporate raider tear it apart for pieces. I promised Gerald I'd think about it, but I already knew I would do it. I spent the next month putting together a proposal with my financial advisors. We identified the parts of Thompson Industries that fit with Apex Solutions strategy: the manufacturing division, the design studio, the core client services team. We could leave behind Victoria's failed expansion projects and focus on what actually worked. The numbers were aggressive, but they worked. With some creative financing and using Apex Solutions' strong credit, I could make it happen. But first, I had to convince Victoria to sell. I called her. She answered on the first ring, like she'd been waiting. "Marcus? We need to meet. I have a proposal for you." We met at a coffee shop, neutral territory. Victoria looked exhausted, the stress of the past months written on her face. If this is about gloating, I don't have time for it. It's not. I want to buy parts of Thompson Industries. Her eyes widened. What? I laid out my proposal. I'd acquire the core business, keep most of the employees, and maintain the Thompson name. Apex Solutions would merge with it, creating a stronger combined company. "And what happens to me?" Victoria asked quietly. This was the hard part. "You'd step down as CEO. The board would install new leadership, probably me if I'm being honest. But you'd stay on in a senior advisory role if you wanted. You'd still be part of the company, just not running it. So you'd be my boss." Technically, yes, but it doesn't have to be about power. It can be about saving what Mom and Dad built, together, like they wanted. Victoria was quiet for a long time. She stared into her coffee cup, and I could see her wrestling with her pride. "I really messed things up, didn't it?" "Yeah," I said honestly. "You did, but it's not too late to fix some of it." "Why would you want me to stay? After everything I did to you? Because you're brilliant at strategy when you're not letting ego drive the decisions. Because you know the business. And because, despite everything, you're still my sister. I'm angry at you, but I don't hate you." She started crying then, quiet tears running down her face. "I was so jealous of you." Victoria's confession hung in the air between us. "Jealous of me? You were always the successful one." "No, I was always the one trying to live up to expectations. You were the one everyone loved naturally. Dad used to light up when you walked into a room. Employees asked about you, wanted your approval. I had to work twice as hard to get half the recognition." I hadn't known. I'd always thought Victoria was Dad's favorite, the responsible oldest child. That doesn't justify what you did. "I know. I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to explain. When Mom and Dad died, I saw it as my chance to finally prove I was the capable one. And the only way I could think to do that was to push you out. I thought if you were gone, everyone would have to respect me. But all I did was lose the one person who actually understood the company like I did." I didn't know what to say to that. Years of resentment didn't just disappear. But understanding started to creep in. "So what happens now?" Victoria asked. The acquisition took 3 months to finalize. The Thompson Industries board was relieved to have a solution that preserved the core company and most jobs. Victoria stepped down as CEO with a generous exit package and the advisory role I'd promised. On my first day as CEO of the merged company, we called it Thompson Apex Solutions. I walked through the building where I'd once been forced out. Employees who'd watched me leave in shame 3 years earlier now nodded respectfully as I passed. Michelle, my old assistant, cried happy tears when she saw me. Victoria and I met in what used to be Dad's office, now mine. This feels surreal, she said, looking around. Yeah, it does. Marcus, I want you to know, I'm going to work hard to earn back your trust. Not just as a colleague, but as your sister. I know it won't happen overnight. No, it won't, I agreed. But I'm willing to try if you are. She smiled, a real smile for the first time in years. Deal. As I sat in Dad's chair that evening after everyone had left, I thought about the journey. 3 years ago, I'd been kicked out and lost. Now, I was running the company, stronger and smarter than before. Victoria had forced me out, then called when she needed help. But in the end, maybe we'd both gotten what we needed. A hard lesson about humility, family, and what really matters. The company Dad built was safe. And maybe, just maybe, my sister and I could rebuild something even more important than business success. We could rebuild trust.